On this episode, we kinda sorta have to discuss Thailand's kinda sorta legalization of the devil's lettuce.
So if you want to hear us discuss the ganja apocalypse and chat with experts on the subject, you'll get a natural high from this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee crap, this be the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand in 2001 to indulge in the pleasures of the flesh, and was very surprised to find out that term is not a reference to pork rinds.
Why do I believe that? I actually believe that. And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a one-year teaching contract 21 years ago, almost 22, fell in love with walking away from taxi drivers that roll down their window to ask where you want to go before letting you in, so I never left.
Oh, I do love doing that. Like,
it's so
they pull up and their window goes down. You're like, forget it. No.
You just walk away, man. It's power. Yeah. I love it.
It is. Yeah.
We want to give a big thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a whole bunch of cool stuff, including our ad-free regular show a day early, emails with behind-the-scenes photos of our interviews, access to our Discord server to chat with me, Greg, and other listeners around the world, and various other goodies. But best of all, patrons also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and Bangkok topics. We just finished recording this week's bonus show, and we chatted about all kinds of things that are changing fast here in the land of smiles. The TM6 card for tourist arrivals, the ending of the mask mandate, the reopening of nightlife venues, and the potential legalization of craft beer brewing and same-sex marriage. Plus, we talked about Greg drinking clam broth on Canada Day.
Yeah, baby.
The times, they are a-changin'. To learn how to become a patron, click the support button at the top of our website.
Right, and as always, if you have something interesting to say or a show idea or a joke or just want to say hi, head to bangkokpodcast.com, click the little microphone button at the bottom right to leave us a voicemail that we will play on the show.
Do it.
Alrighty then. Well, on this episode, we are taking a segment that we often do on our patron-only bonus show called Weed Watch and turning it into a whole show. Now, our Weed Watch segment uses the slow but sure legalization of weed in Thailand as a barometer of sorts for the slow but sure liberalization of Thai culture. But as you no doubt have heard, Thailand over the past few days took a huge step to legalize the use of marijuana, which inevitably led to massive lines at makeshift dispensaries overnight, which then seemed to catch the government completely off guard. So they have been busy over the past few days trying to finesse the law and apply certain limitations, some of which make sense, some of which might not make sense. So Ed and I are going to discuss this for a few minutes, and we're also going to hear from previous guest, ganjapreneur Kitty Chopaka, as well as my very own mother-in-law, who talks about how weed was used liberally in Thai cooking when she was a little girl. So Ed, like you said, man, the times, they are a-changin'.
Yeah, it's incredible. I still can't believe it. I'm kind of pinching myself. And of course, as we know, just because something changes in Thailand, it doesn't mean it's not going to change back. So we have to, there's kind of a big asterisk always on these new government policies. But I think we should listen into my relatively short interview with Kitty, our expert, our kind of show expert, because she's got a good explanation of exactly what's going on right now.
Our senior weed correspondent. All right, let's hear what she has to say.
Okay, I want to welcome back to the podcast Kitty Chopaka, who wears many hats. If you remember, she was on our show last year. She is a businesswoman, a ganjapreneur, but also a social and political activist who has been involved in the movement to legalize or at least decriminalize cannabis and cannabis products in Thailand for a long time. So, Kitty, I want to welcome you back to the podcast. Thanks for coming on short notice.
Thanks for having me. My voice may seem like quite raspy right now, but there was many interviews.
Oh, I imagine. The first thing I want to do is actually just kind of congratulate you, because I mean, there's many people involved in this movement, but you are clearly one of the leaders and longtime promoters of cannabis decriminalization, and it's finally happened, at least partially. So congratulations. I mean, you are part of Thai history now.
Thank you. I would say that I'm not fully celebrating just yet. I was quite happy that it did happen, but it was still a technical foul. So we don't know if they're going to take back the trophy or not. So,
it's funny.
Let's just fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's funny. That's one of the things I want to talk to you about. All of us, I think, kind of expect confusion when it comes to the Thai government and new laws. I mean, even outside of cannabis, and just in many cases, it seems like they do something that they haven't thought through, and then even though they act like they're committed to it, they end up backwheeling or reversing it. So we'll get to that topic in a second. I just wanted to first make clear, because there's actually still some confusion in the media over exactly what has been legalized or decriminalized. And I know there's some complicated issues, but just in very simple terms, what does Thai law say today about the use of cannabis?
If the THC came from the flower and not from extracts, it's legal in your system.
Okay, so
possession of flowers, no matter what the THC content, is legal.
Okay, so essentially what that means, kind of the plant itself is essentially kind of unregulated. Like I saw a previous interview you gave, and you had a rather colorful way of saying that it's as unregulated as garlic.
Yes.
Yes. So that means the plant itself is just kind of free. So again, just to make the logical step, that means that individuals can own high THC cannabis plants. They can grow high THC cannabis plants, and they can consume or smoke high THC products that are just the plant itself, as in just bud or flowers.
Yep.
And so that is a massive change for Thailand.
That's kind of why I said it was a technical foul.
So you think, okay, well, this leads to my next question. A lot of the confusion comes from the fact that the law says extracts are regulated, as in there's a very, very low threshold for THC products that are based on extracts, but the plants are left, as we said, unregulated. Do you think this was more or less a mistake by the government?
No, technically on that front, the actual rule itself, or what they mention in the delisting, is that according to the UN and according to the WHO. Like, the UN doesn't control the actual plant of the cannabis plant itself, but they do tend to control the actual extract, or something that is like really high potency in process form. The WHO did say that anything that is below 0.2% THC shouldn't be regulated or shouldn't be controlled like THC. So they kind of use that sense to put it in there. So it does make sense.
They're following some international standards, but do you think they expected to happen what has happened? So Greg and I are going to discuss this further on the podcast, but as you know, we have seen some cannabis shops open up. We've seen some pretty open selling, even in tourist areas like Khao San Road. Like, I saw a video of a truck, a cannabis truck that was just selling.
Our shop is open in Asoke.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Now, so of course, I totally welcome this, as you do. But I'm a little bit, I don't know what the right word
Concern.
is. I'm a little bit surprised that this has happened so quickly, and the Thai government, do you think they expected it to happen this fast, that people would just be selling openly?
It's not that. It's like the technical foul happened. The selling is ready whenever. It doesn't matter whether it was going to be legalized 5 days ago or 20 days from now. What happened was they removed it from the listing, and they made the announcement. They said 120 days, it will be delisted.
Right.
They gave it 120 days for a law to actually come into control. As soon as it's delisted, it will go straight into under a new law, which will control everything about cannabis and hemp.
Right.
That one is still in Parliament, and they have to go through 3 rounds of like committee deliberation and stuff. And they just about setting up the committee and all of that other stuff.
So essentially, there is going to be a new law. There is going to be a new law to regulate, but it's not ready yet. So we're kind of in this window. We're like in a grace period of freedom.
It's like a vacuum. So it's this vacuum where everything kind of goes. But at the same time, the rules are in deliberation and it's being processed.
I see.
They underestimated how long it takes to pass a law.
To regulate.
They underestimated how long that there are other laws that also goes into the same process as getting passed. So you can't just kind of go like, oh yeah, because it's weed, they get cut to the front of the line.
Right.
So that was the technical foul. It's like you got late to a meeting or late to a show, and you just couldn't get in. So it's exactly that.
So we have a window of freedom, but we don't know for sure what's coming down the road, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I can't tell you exactly what would be, because there is also another Cannabis Act that the people, there was like a group of advocates who actually went around to Thailand, all throughout Thailand, and listening to opinions and all the people who are within the industry already, as well as those who are interested, getting involved with it on how they want it to control. So that version, where it's actually spread the power to provinces or to districts themselves to kind of self-govern, but under the general guise of safe and responsible use, if that is the case. And they also have the right to kind of say, nah, maybe we don't want it in our district. So the people's law is mainly to kind of spread out the power to control it, and also spread the wealth that gets generated to it to, starts to give back to the locals. So that one is, we're finger crossing to see if they were actually accepted into Parliament. So if that did manage to get accepted into Parliament, it may take some time for the 2 different acts to kind of combine into one and then come out and control what cannabis is. So in between that time, I asked for anyone who's going to go into this in terms of business, please don't do it if you're I would say like a newbie. Right. Because I see that you need to be very responsible. Selling the flowers at the shop over the weekend, a lot of newbies came in, a lot of people who's never had it before.
I see.
And they don't know what to do, and they want advice. And if you just want to sell it for the sake of selling, that may not be something, some sort of experience that they would like as their first time. And it means that they probably won't ever come back. So I think showing that you can kind of use it responsibly, and also use it safely, and especially with first timers, kind of not push them into something that is strong just because it's expensive.
For sure.
It's like that integrity of the seller that I feel that needs to kind of be imposed even more, because there is no rules.
I understand. In a way, I feel like we're in a kind of test period, and if there is a lot of abuse or problems, then of course this could affect future regulation. So in a way,
Absolutely.
In a way, everyone in the legalization or decriminalization movement, really we need to promote responsible use.
Yeah.
So I have one more question. Greg was kind of curious, on the podcast, we've been talking a lot about cannabis laws, and Greg likes to point out that he's not a cannabis user. He's a liberal who supports decriminalization, but he's not a smoker. And so I play the stoner role on the podcast, right? He's the non-stoner. And he just had a question. So this is obviously a big change for Thai society, but does it matter for non-cannabis users? What's the significance to maybe the average Thai person or the average expat or tourist who doesn't want to get high? Why does it matter to them?
It doesn't, but maybe it would in terms of helping out the locals, or like, if you're like coming into Thailand and like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. It's just how it is. Like my husband doesn't use. He's in a totally different industry than I am, but we still married.
Right.
Like, does it matter then? Like, if it's not something that's not on your radar, then it's not something that's on your radar.
Agreed.
But if it's something that maybe one day you'll end up being curious, then I hope that by then the industry have enough standards to kind of make sure that the new users ease into it, rather than just
go crazy,
hit their head and pass out.
Yeah, and have a bad experience. Right. We have to remember that the law also applies to CBD and other medical related things, and so even if you're someone who's not interested in high THC, you still might obviously get all the medical benefits from other cannabis products. So that, that could affect anyone who, there's a million medical applications as well.
Here's the thing though, like, as much as I do have THC products, high and low, but at the same time, it's like, I don't really talk about the THC. It's more on how the effects, how the smell, and like, what experience they want to experience.
Sure.
We're not like, because I feel that especially with new users or people who don't understand it, they, people are people. They're going to think that the strongest is the best, or the most expensive is the best. Sure. It's like, for me, it's like, how does it feel? And also like, how well does it smoke? Like a good quality product doesn't mean that it's like, it feels great or gets you really high. It's like, does it hurt your throat? Do you get all that taste in your mouth? Like, is that pleasant taste? Is that something that you want to continue to do? Like, those are the type of things that I would say is the way that we may want to kind of push cannabis. That's rather like, kind of almost like an expensive cocktail. Right.
It seems like consumers really just need an education, because this is a new product for a lot of people. They just need an understanding and experience, right?
And sometimes just grinding it up and put it in hot water and steep it for a while is more than enough for one person.
Sure.
So there's also different type of uses as well. Like, it's not like I'm only selling for smoking, right? But even though that is probably the one of the safe ways to use rather than eating it. So there's always all of those things that we need to talk about. And I feel that a lot of my customer, apart from being a lot of them are foreigners, are over the age of 50.
I see.
So, but at the same time, it's like, I remember when I was a teenager. So it's like, we also don't want to put them on their asses either.
Of course. Sure. Because it's not the same.
That could be dangerous.
It's not always the same weed as before, right?
Oh my God, the potency.
Yeah, sure.
So, but all of the products that I have also are local grown. I understand it was very quick that somehow, by 2 days of legalization, I was able to obtain a lot of flowers.
Amazing. Amazing
we
Thailand,
have good soil. We have awesome sun.
So you mentioned your shop. What is the name of your shop? So if people are interested, they can check it out.
Chopaka.
Chopaka.
That's my last name.
Oh, that is the name of the shop, and it's on Asoke.
Yes, it's right on the Asoke intersection between Interchange and the petrol station before Soy 23.
Oh, sure.
Right on Sukhumvit.
Oh, excellent.
There's a big weed leaf. You won't be able to miss it.
I'll be making a visit there for sure. So are you guys open 6 days a week, 7 days a week? What is your schedule?
We open Monday to Sunday. So we open every day because we already sell gummies there.
Oh, wow.
We have terpene gummies, which actually will enhance your high if you are a long-time stoner.
Okay.
But also, if you are a newbie, that may actually be the first thing that you eat because it doesn't have any CBD or THC in it. It's just terpenes.
Gotcha.
And it will give you like the general effect for them to catch the feel so that they can then kind of decide whether they want to move on, or some people are just happy with the terpene gummies.
Gotcha.
So I've been doing that for since last year, and I have that shop there for a while.
Oh, nice.
And now we also carry flowers. Between Monday to Thursday is open between 10 a.m. to 4:20 p.m.
Gotcha.
And Friday to Sunday is 4:20 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Oh, I see. Excellent. Okay, Kitty, thank you so much for coming on. I know it was short notice. Congratulations again. This must be just an exciting time in your life. I'm sure it's busy and stressful.
Oh, you have no idea. Like, there is so many messages that, like, I just have to, like, I'm not answering yet. I don't have the time to answer that yet. Or, like, my parents, like, or families. Like, it's quite funny. I was just making a joke about it the other day. Like overnight, those who are considered like druggies or stoner or like, narcotics producers turn to business people.
Right.
Because,
right.
Oh my God. And then and it's the funny thing, because this is Thailand, right? You have like your aunties, you have like your uncles, you have like your friends of your mom, and like if you don't pick up their phone, your mom will call you.
Oh, funny.
And it's yeah. So all those guys who grew cannabis and on the 9th post a picture with weed, the next day.
Oh my God.
I have 10 rye in this location, or I have a shop here. Maybe it's a good idea if we,
So funny, so funny. Well, thanks again, and I'm sure we'll have you back on. There's so much to talk about. So maybe in a couple months after this all pans out, you can come back on and we can further discuss the story.
Of course.
Great. Thank you, Kitty.
Until next time.
Okay. Yeah, so it was super helpful to talk to Kitty. Kitty, thank you very much for coming back on. She's so busy right now because, as we said in the interview, she's not just like a businesswoman; she's also an activist. So, at the beginning of the interview, she said her voice was hoarse because she's been doing so many damn interviews. But yet she found time. She found time to come back on the Bangkok podcast. So it was pretty sweet of her.
Yeah, if you go to any story over the past week about this in like the Agence France Presse, the Reuters, or any of the major news networks anywhere, and like can command F and search for Kitty, you'll probably see that name in the story because she's been.
That's right.
I imagine her phone's been ringing off the hook from reporters.
For sure,
trying
yeah.
to get in touch with
I mean, she's been a leader of the legalization movement, so it's not just. She is a businesswoman, and she does stand a profit, from her shops and things like that. But the bottom line is she's an activist, and so this is a huge, huge, huge change for Thailand and Thai culture and Thai society, with, of course, the asterisk that we don't know what type of regulation might come in the future. So as we said in the interview, we are in a weird window, almost like a grace period. Essentially, we're in a legal vacuum right now where for the actual plant itself, not extracts or other products, but for the actual plant itself, it's almost totally unregulated. So, so we know in the future there's going to be some regulations, but we don't really know what those are going to be. So we're in an interesting space right now.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's getting really worked up. If only there was a way for everyone just to calm down a little bit, chill out. So.
Very good point. Well, I can say this. I'll be perfectly honest. I've been to 2 weed stores already. I've purchased some weed legally, of course. Now, I haven't imbibed or smoked in public because the way the government is handling it, even though technically smoking in public should be legal, the government has basically said they don't want people to do that, and they're going to use public nuisance laws, like because of the smell, apparently, I guess, to stop people from smoking in public. So the government doesn't want people to smoke in public. They have issued some kind of, I guess, temporary regulations, or I don't know what the deal is, but they basically said if you're under 20, you can't buy it. If you're a pregnant woman or if you're a lactating woman, then these shops are not supposed to sell to you. But other than that, the actual plant itself, the buds, high THC buds, is perfectly legal. And it's just, I can't believe it, dude. I'm kind of in a state of shock.
How do you prove that you're not lactating? There's really only one way to do it.
That's right.
And I'm also kind of glad that they're saying that they've classified it as a public nuisance because of the smoke and smell. I really don't like the smell of weed. Like I'm fine with everyone doing it around me, but I just don't like the way it smells. I also think people's breath really stinks after they smoke weed. It's like after someone drinking a big cup of coffee. I don't like it. But
right. Well, of course, we already have anti-smoking law. You can't smoke indoors in Bangkok already. Right. So they're just making clear that the same is going to be true of weed. You can't smoke indoors, but they actually are saying they don't really want people standing outside smoking weed. So again, they're going to use public nuisance laws against that. But I think people are so happy to be able to legally own it at home, grow it at home, consume it at home without fear of arrest. So I think, as Kitty said in the interview, the most important thing now is actually kind of good cannabis behavior. I think the activists, the pro-legalization crowd, they're so happy with this victory right now that they don't want to ruin it by acting like they don't want to like act like idiots and run down the streets, getting high. Woohoo! Look at me. They don't want to.
High.
Yeah, they don't want to do that because they don't want to ruin this victory.
Well, I'm glad you asked her as well about someone like me. Like I said before on the show, if listeners don't know, I've never smoked weed. I'm not really interested in smoking it. I've got nothing against it. I think everyone should be able to do it if they want to, but it's just not for me. So I'm glad you asked her why someone like me should give a shit about this. Like, I understand that it's a huge move for Thailand, but for me, my life will change 0% about this.
Yeah. I mean, she basically said it doesn't matter. Like, if you're not interested in getting high, then high THC products, they don't matter. They don't matter to you. But again, as we said in the interview, there are other products you and I love to. Well, we don't love to. We do chat about how our bodies are dilapidated and falling apart and creaky and painful for no apparent reason. So, I mean, you might be able to benefit from some other CBD-related products. That's possible, even if you don't want to get high.
Yeah, you're right. And as I get older and fatter and less active, my back is hurting. I've got a disc problem in my back.
There you go.
Every time I get out of bed in the morning, it sounds like little mini fireworks going off of my knee joints. It's just and
that's great.
So, I might get to the point where I might need it. I might benefit from it. Everyone I know who has taken it for medical reasons has noticed an immediate improvement. So there's definitely a real reason to use it. And who knows, man, I might be sparking up with you one day, and you for pleasure, me for medical.
Yeah,
pain.
I'm really not a promoter. Like most people I know who haven't tried it, I always tell them don't. So I'm not some type of weed advocate. I just think it's a personal choice. But I agree with Kitty that there is a danger of people who've never used it before, who just kind of rush in and buy some high THC weed, and then they have a bad experience. So she, as you heard in the interview, she said she's actually looking for some lower THC weed because the modern stuff tends to be so strong. She's really worried about scaring away customers.
Right. That's interesting. It's like for, driving a motorcycle for the first time and getting on a Harley, like.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. This is a problem because there are a lot of people who don't know what they're doing. And even though kind of technically you can't overdose from weed in terms of like, you'll pretty much just pass out. You can have a very bad experience. You can get paranoid and you can freak out and it can be the worst experience of your life. And modern weed is just not the weed from the 70s. It's not the same.
Yeah. Well, as we're wrapping up this main segment here, I thought one aspect was interesting about this was that on the show before, you and I have talked about how in traditional Thai cooking way back in the day, marijuana was used quite often as a spice or a seasoning or a herb in a lot of Thai cooking. And then, of course, the whole war on drugs thing and then the whole 70s thing happened and it sort of became demonized and became illegal, even though it was used very liberally back in the day. So I happened to be with my mother-in-law at home here, and I decided to ask her about it. And she said, oh, yeah, we used to use it all the time when I was a little girl. So I just sat down and had a quick conversation with her about this. And I'm just going to play it now because she's got some really interesting insights about how they used to use it when she was young and how she was learning to cook from her mom. And it's funny. She's a really cool lady. She's a firecracker. So here's my mother-in-law and I talking about marijuana back in the day. So when you were younger, it was quite common to use marijuana in cooking?
Yeah.
In Thai food?
Yeah, in Thai food. We had make a chicken soup, beef soup, everything. Som tam too.
Yeah.
They put in the padek, pala. They put in there,
in the pala.
The pala, yeah, we put in the pala with a steam just about 1 hour. Oh, อร่อยมาก
Where did you buy it? Where could you buy ganja?
Before, every house in my own home, we go up in the garden.
In the garden?
Yeah.
Ah. But they don't do that anymore. It's not...
Because the government say that gansha bad. It's not bad. It's not bad because sometimes you have cancer.
Yeah.
All the people need gansha.
Yeah.
That's good, but feel good when you take that.
Yeah.
But now in Thai government, they change their mind. They say the drug gansha. I don't believe it. Because we use it younger.
Used to use it a lot.
Yeah, my own home before we have garden, we have gansha. We go out of gansha. อุ้ยสวยมาก I love it, When you make cooking, we put the soup, we have ปลาร้า ดีมาก
Okay, well, if you cook something here, let me know first if you put ganja in it.
Okay, I gotta buy some. You wanna eat soup?
No, don't trick me.
ดีมากนะ you keep laughing, smile good, feel good ด้วย feel very good. When you take gansha, you just sometimes you take gansha already. You see the leaf fell, you laugh and what happened? Casey bar, you laugh everything, Before a younger, I take a lot of gansha. We got the soup. When we walking, look like we fly, Oh, I don't know. Oh, how I get home quickly. เร็วมาก Look like a flying,
That's funny.
Oh, จริงๆนะ That's true story. In my own home, we love it gansha. Papaya, pok gansha.
Yeah.
Everything gansha. So now open now.
Yeah.
Everybody take too much. That's why feel bad.
Only take a little bit.
นิดหน่อย Don't take much. Oh, you take always smoking. Every around my house before, we have open house, ใช่ไหม People walk by have gansha. In back home river, they go up
on the weeds.
Yeah.
Oh,
มากด้วย Sometimes we have the no gansha. We call to Lao. Because Lao they go up in the gansha in the beach. เยอะมาก
Yeah.
We looking now. When you go home, I show you where the Lao people make gansha. เยอะมาก So now everybody happy นะ have gansha. Freedom แล้ว When they come home, but when people come to Thailand, can have gansha.
Yeah.
No problem now. I happy,
Before,
the
land of smiles, I think.
Yeah, Casey land. It's not land smile. Oh, the bullshit.
Dude, this is so surprising. I really would not have expected it. I thought it was more like 70, 80, 100 years ago, but it really wasn't that long ago.
Well, she's 112. No, just kidding. No, she's 72 or something like that. So
right.
So yeah, we're talking 60, 65 years ago.
I guess
it's a long time, man.
Okay, it was a long time ago, but it's amazing that she just remembers it so clearly as being so common.
Yeah, exactly. It was just so funny. Everyone had it. Everyone had plants in their garden. It grows like a weed. It is a weed, huh? Anyway, so, the times they are changing because the times they continue to change. And we're just...
Definitely. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the potential ways the government could backslide on this. So as Kitty noted, we're really just in an interim period because there are multiple bills right now being debated in the parliament. So the only thing they've regulated is high THC extracts, but for sure there is going to be some regulation of plants. So I would be surprised if they allow people to sell in a shop without a license. Isn't that kind of crazy? I'm a pro legalization guy, but I'm not sure anyone should be able to open up a shop. I mean, obviously, to sell alcohol, you need a license to sell alcohol. That's a big deal, right?
Yeah, you got to have a license to open a kitchen, a little restaurant.
Yeah,
sell
and
alcohol.
There are, I do think weed is safer than alcohol in general, but there are quality control issues. Aren't there issues with maybe pesticides or contaminants, and then maybe maybe a regulation that says you have to publish the THC percentage or something like that. So it's funny because obviously I'm in favor of decriminalization, but I'm not sure. Now I feel I'm a little bit more conservative where I'm not sure these shops should just, I want anyone to just open up their own shop and sell weed. Like I think probably they should get a license and there should be some type of, I don't know, inspection or regulation. You know what I mean?
Well, what we want to avoid is the prostitution thing, right? Where it's illegal. It's been driven underground because people will still do it, no matter if there's laws or not. And, if you legalize it, you can control it, you can tax it, and you can sort of make it accessible and something that's
right.
Not
yeah.
dangerous.
I predict that they definitely regulate shops, formal shops, and selling. And I wonder if they're gonna regulate home growing. I mean, maybe with the fact that they're allowing craft breweries, the fact that they are planning on distributing plants to people, I hope they don't decide to regulate the THC levels of homegrown plants. That would be a big step backwards because I think a lot of people are assuming that the shops. The shops might end up either disappearing or they're going to get regulated. I think everyone expects that.
Well, how can you possibly control the quality or quantity of weed in homegrown plants? You need an entirely new police force set up.
Right. I'm hoping that's why I'm hoping they don't try. Obviously they could just prohibit home growth, which is the way it is right now. But that I think I'm not 100%, but I think now the cat is just out of the bag. It's like I'm not sure they're going to be able to just they can't go back to the way it was. And now with people literally just buying on the streets, and there are shops online, shops on Instagram. I don't think they can put the cat back in the bag. So I'm hoping that the future regulation really just involves the regulation of shops, and they leave they leave the home growing stuff as just like if you were growing any other herb at home.
Right, and just like you were saying, there's a story that came out in Reuters just before we started recording that said Thailand hastily issued a raft of new regulations for cannabis use this week after a long-planned decriminalization raised alarm at the potential for unchecked use of substance anywhere and by anyone, including children. So it's kind of par for the course here, right? They always say like, okay, you can do this, and then all these unintended consequences happen, and they're like, whoa, let's roll this back a little.
So as of right now, as of today, and again, we have to use the asterisk because this could change by next week. But like I said, future regulation is coming, but probably not a total backward step. I don't think so. But as of right now, shops cannot sell to anyone under 20. So if you're under 20 years old, it is illegal to buy high THC cannabis. If you are a pregnant woman or a lactating woman. Other than that, the government just reaffirmed today, the day that we are recording, they reaffirmed that it is legal. So they haven't back-wheeled yet.
Cool.
With the weed stuff, with the bars staying open late, with no Thailand pass, with all the stuff happening, I really do think July is going to explode, and I think it would be a great time for people to come back to Thailand.
Yeah, I agree, man. There doesn't seem to be any reason not to. Like I said on the Boner Show, you can come for a gay wedding, you can drink craft beer, you can smoke some weed. You don't have to worry about paperwork or masks. Like
Thailand is back, baby. Thailand is back, better than before.
That's right. You got to get rid of this Land of Smiles stuff. It's old. It's dusty. You got to throw in the Thailand is back, baby.
It's the land of giggles now.
The land of giggles and red eyes. There you go, TAT. We're only going to charge you $500,000 baht for that.
That's right. The land of giggles. I love it.
All right, let's get into some love, loathe, or live with, where one of us picks a particular aspect of living in Bangkok, which we then discuss and decide if it's something we love about living here, loathe about living here, or have come to accept as something that we just have to learn to live with no matter how we feel about it. Now, last time I asked Ed what he thought of Thai Post. So this week, Ed, it's all you.
All right, dude. When I was down in the islands and I was going to these Muay Thai workouts, they sometimes played modern music, but they also sometimes played Thai traditional music. And I got to say, I've never got that into it, but there was something about it in that setting. It just, all of a sudden, I thought it sounded kind of cool. So what is your take on, I don't even know what to call it, but I've heard this kind of music at Muay Thai fights, like at Muay Thai stadiums. And I don't know. Now I'm kind of into it. What's your take on that music?
Well, we've talked about like Mo Lam and Luk Tung before, but we haven't talked about this. And this music specifically they play in front of Muay Thai fights is called Sarat Ma. And it's the music that accompanies the pre-fight ritual of Muay Thai matches, also called playing Muay or boxing music or something like that. Now, I sound really intelligent saying that, but I'm actually reading that directly from Wikipedia.
Yeah, I don't even know what it was called, but you're right. It's not the same as Luk Tung or Mo Lam. Like Luk Tung or Mo Lam, I don't hate or dislike, but I've just never gotten into it.
Yeah, no. It's funny. This is a really good one because I would never, ever, ever listen to that music outside of a Muay Thai match.
Right.
But when you're watching a Muay Thai match, it's somehow it works. And it's an art form too, because I don't know if you've ever noticed, but as the tempo of the match ebbs and flows, as it gets, more heated and more hardcore, and then they back off and they rest for a minute, like the music also follows that. So the musicians watch the fight really closely, and the tempo and intensity of the music changes based on the tempo and intensity of the fight.
I didn't actually know that.
Our friend Dan Fraser told me one time. He explained it all to me really well. So it is really cool, but again, I don't like it outside of that situation. I don't like it. It's like Chinese opera.
I'm with you.
music.
I wouldn't just put it on. But and there's something about it. It does create an atmosphere. It's like it's just when I was down at these these gyms are outdoor. They're pretty rustic, and when they put on that music and and you have hand wraps on, it's just part of the atmosphere. And I think that music is cool. Like I want to try to get some of that music, and I do want to continue just to stay in shape, do some Muay Thai. And so I'm not sure, I'm kind of a borderline love. I kind of like that music now. So I'm at least to live with, let's put it that way.
I'm going to say love at the Muay Thai match.
Right.
Outside of the Muay Thai match, I'm a live with.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Anyway, I'm just glad there's some part of traditional Thai culture that I actually like, because most of it because most of it just doesn't appeal to me. I encounter it. It is what it is, but it's not something that I just connect with. But for some reason, that Muay Thai music, it just fits, and I like it. I like it now.
Well, you pay me enough money when you're training at your place. I'll come over with one of them little flutes or something and just sit on the floor.
That would be a sight, no doubt. All right, a final thanks to our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping support the show. Find out more by clicking support on our website. And connect with us online. We're Bangkok Podcast on social media, BangkokPodcast.com on the web, or simply BangkokPodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
That's right. You can also listen to each episode on YouTube. You can send us a voicemail through our website that we'll feature on the show, or even reach out to me directly on Twitter, where I am BKK Greg. So thanks for listening, everyone. Take care of yourself out there, and we will see you in Thailand soon.
No doubt.
But as you no doubt have heard over the past few days, Thailand took a huge step recently to legalize the use of marijuana, which inevitably led... sorry. I thought I could make it through, but I couldn't.